I have a question for you. How would you like to be remembered? What will your legacy be? Let me tell you a story. The late Peter Drucker, the Dean of Modern Management, was fond of telling this story. His high school religion teacher back in Vienna at the turn of the century once asked his students, 13 and 14-year-old boys, how they would like to be remembered. And as you might imagine, no one raised their hand, no one spoke up. He laughed and he said, I really didn't expect you to answer that question. But if you still can't answer that question, by the time you're 50, you will have wasted your life. Now, we can quibble about the age 50. Why not 60? Winston Churchill was washed up politically at age 60. 4 years later, he was prime minister, engaged in a life and death struggle with Adolf Hitler. But the question, how would you like to be remembered? What is your legacy? I think you would agree with me that that is a very important question. In the time that we have together today, I'm going to share with you invaluable lessons learned from the lives of some of the inspiring men and women that I interviewed in my new book, Legacy: Passing on Cherished Values in a Value-Starved World. I'm confident when I'm finished, you will have a new perspective and a new commitment on your life and on your career. That's because, as Peter Drucker would say, the topic of legacy motivates us to renew ourselves, to see ourselves not as we are today, but as the men and women we can be tomorrow. Men and women that can really make a difference in the world. Let me tell you about one such person. Her name is Emily Warner, and she is the first female commercial airline pilot and the first female commercial airline captain. Back in the late 1950s, when a woman thought about a career in aviation, she really only had one option, and that was stewardess. On a flight home to Denver, she was on a small plane. She was the only passenger, and she asked the stewardess if she could see the cockpit. Can you imagine this happening today? The stewardess invited her up to the cockpit, and she got the opportunity to sit in the jump seat right behind the captain and the co-pilot. And she said, I looked out the window and it changed my life forever. And she added, and I'm not kidding. Well, she got off that plane. She was so excited, this 18-year-old. She asked the co-pilot, how can I learn to fly? The co-pilot says, well, take lessons. And so she went to Clinton Aviation Flying School in Denver. And over the next 14 years, she never really left. While she was learning to fly, she became the receptionist, and she became the secretary, and then a flight instructor, and then finally the manager of the flight school. Fast forward to the 1960s, the late 1960s, she wanted to become a commercial airline pilot because she had been training for several years young pilots, men, who went on to become airline pilots. But when she applied, year after year after year, she was always turned down. Finally, in 1973, Frontier Airlines did the right thing, and they hired her. And she went on to a glorious career, first as a co-pilot and then as a captain. She retired in the 1990s. She received many awards and recognitions in her career, including the Amelia Earhart Woman of the Year Award, and her Frontier Airlines uniform is installed at the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum. When I asked her how she wanted to be remembered, she said quite poetically that she weaved the winds of change, chance, and opportunity with luck and timing. Now I ask you, like Emily Warner, I'm sure that you have many challenges at work, at home, in your community. And there are times when you feel like throwing in the towel. A person and an example and a legacy like Emily Warner, however, informs us, inspires us, and motivates us to become something more than ourselves, perhaps our best self. Because Emily Warner exemplifies perseverance. And you know, perseverance is not what you do on your first or your second try. Oh no. Perseverance is what you do on your third and your fourth and your fifth try. That's what character is all about.